Basically, you cannot make at age 14, 15, you cannot make the child physically to do something or not do something because they believe that parents are stupid. In reality, parents are smarter than they are, but the teenagers don't believe that. But you have to take advantage of that. You can use some tricks to deal with that. Children use the word fair probably as much as they use the word boring. Parents have to teach their children that boring is okay. But if the life is boring, maybe a child is depressed. Here is the time to go to school psychologist.
Welcome everyone. I'm so excited to welcome Dr. Elena Merenova to my program. Let me tell you more about Elena. She is a school psychologist with over 20 years of experience. She earned a PhD in guidance and psychological services with specialization in school psychology from Indiana State University. Over the course of her career, she worked in several school districts in Texas and taught psychology courses at Indiana State University, Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, University of Houston at Clear Lake, and Brazoria Community College. Welcome, Elena!
Hello.
I'm very happy to have you. So we would love to tap into your huge knowledge and talk about school phobias today. First, I'd like to talk more about your experience and your career and what inspired you to become a psychologist in the first place.
Well, to become a psychologist, it was quite a difficult decision because by my first education, I'm from Russia, and my first education was in linguistics and philology. So I worked as a teacher of Russian as a second language. So when I came to the United States, my friend told me that there are too many Russians and not enough students who want to learn Russian. So I had to choose different specialty. I looked at the list of available programs in the colleges and just realized that I always like to be to teach people, so it should be related to school. And I really had an interest in psychology, which was not very popular in Russia. So I decided to go to school psychology. Indiana State University took me as a grad student there. So that's how I became a school psychologist.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm sure there are a lot of fun stories from that experience and from your career as well. So let's talk about school phobias today. What is it? Why is it important for parents to know about it?
Well, let me start with the example. I don't want to start talking about school phobia first because when you have a headache, you don't rush to an oncologist and say, I have a brain tumor. First of all, you take aspirin and see if it works because headache may be the reason of being tired, of having hangover, of working too hard, of muscle spasms, of everything. The same thing is that when your child doesn't want to go to school, it's not necessarily a school phobia because school phobia is a psychiatric diagnosis. And I know right now with Google availability, when something happens, you rush to Google and find, oh, the child doesn't want to go to school. School phobia. Okay, we'll go to psychiatrist, we'll get medication and treat this as school phobia. Well, why your child doesn't want to go to school? Let me give you some examples from my career, without names, of course, because it's not really related because it happens so often that you cannot, really believe that this is a unique example that could be attached to a certain person. Say, Johnny comes home from school, comes to the father and said, Dad, can I take your military flask to school tomorrow? Dad reading newspaper says, nope. Okay, that's it. No, no is no. So next morning, Johnny, I'm not going to school today. Why? No answer, just grabbing to the table. I'm not going to school. The father said, spank him and leaves for work. Mother tries to convince him, no luck. What happened? Second day, the same thing. Everybody is concerned. Mother rushes to school, to the counselor. Nothing happened in school. No problems, no fights, no conflicts with the teachers, nothing. After long investigation, 3 days, the child doesn't go to school. Finally, we found out that Johnny talked to Billy in school and bragged about his father being in the military, in the army, and having a military flask at home. And Billy challenged Johnny to bring it to school. Father said no. Johnny doesn't want to go to school because everybody will, Billy, starting with Billy, and everybody else will call him a liar. Okay, this is 9-year-old kids who don't have logics developed well yet, or at all yet, in their brain. So that's how everybody will believe that I'm a liar. I'm not going to school. That's my solution for the problem. So the problem was solved how? The father allowed Johnny to take his flask to school. Everybody was happy. He showed. So the counselor worked further with Johnny. The problem solved. So this was an example of school refusal of the conflict between kids.
Right.
Then there could be conflicts with the teacher. Another thing that the child may not want to go to school is the upcoming test, that the child is not ready or believes that he or she is not ready for this test. And this is also connected to self-confidence of the child, where the responsibility of building self-confidence lies on the parents. And, of course, the serious case of school phobia, when the child, and this is not willingness to go to school. That's when child cannot go to school physically and emotionally, even if she wants. So this is the disorder, psychological disorder, which is related to highly elevated anxiety, phobias, then when the child cannot go to school. Did I explain it clearly?
Yes, yes, yes. So out of all cases that you've seen, what would be the percentage of a real phobia versus a refusal due to the reasons you just listed?
Over my whole career of 20 years, I had 5 or 6 cases of school phobia. 2 were in combination with severe autism, and three or 4 were related to just pure anxiety disorders, Out of 5 or 6, okay, let's go with 5 for sure. Out of 5, we were able to work successfully with 4. 1, we could not happen the child, but 4, we were successful. And I say we because it is not the work of one person. It should be the whole group of people, because one person cannot do anything with this disorder.
Right. So then who are the people involved in solving this challenge? I assume child's parents, probably school psychologists. Who is the team?
You're right, because it is school phobia. Should be a group from school. And it should be the teacher, it should be the principal or administration representative should be involved, because usually while solving this or helping this child is involved we have to change the schedule or make adjustment of how and when the child can make the steps to restore the ability to go to school, because it's always the changes in the curriculum and the schedule for this particular child. So teachers, administration, counselor preferably, because there should be a person to whom the child could be could go anytime. School psychologist, because we developed the program with the help of the others, and the parents, because the support of the parents is crucial in this case. Uh, how this disorder is developed, I shouldn't say that it's 90% related to the parents, but I would say 50-50. Uh, I shouldn't say it's not the blame somebody. It's what caused this problem. And sometimes the trigger may happen at home. The trigger may happen at school. Usually, it happens with successful children. Successful children. Uh, I mean, who were successful in school but who have low confidence. Uh, there's one example that I think if we have time, I can
Oh,
tell
yeah,
about.
definitely. Yes, please.
So I want to tell about the girl from middle school. Let's name her Maria. She was from the family of low income family, single parent family, and she was a single child and was very good or very hardworking student, straight A student. And one day I was called with the request that something happened to this girl. She refuses to go to class. She is in school at the principal's office and she doesn't want to go to class. Uh, as usually, as we treat when you see something unusual, you just treat it as well, child, middle school, whatever happens in their head. She just doesn't want to go to school. She had conflict with the students. She had problems, something. Uh, she did not move from the chair. She refused to move from the chair. When the teacher tried to push her, just to assist her to go, she almost fainted. She was screaming and crying. The behavior was absolutely unusual for this child. So it was my concern. So I took her out of the school building. We sat outside and we talked to her. At first, it was very difficult because she was almost trembling. I mean, it was not that you see every day with a child who is straight A and very successful and going to school diligently. Uh, it turned out that after a couple hours of conversation, turned out that 2 days ago, the teacher gave the students the test in preparation for the state test, but for the seventh graders, he gave eighth grade test to show the students that they know nothing and they have to study better.
Why did you do
Uh,
that? A question.
Let me not answer this question because I had the same one, and the explanation was to show them that they know nothing and they have to work better. The guy was from the military. With all my respect to the military training, school is not military, and not everybody responds well to such methods. She did not. She failed totally. She was scared of her. Of course, she was scared with the uh, first statement that this will be the test that you will have. And she opened the test and she knew nothing. The anxiety went up. And then the next day, the teacher said that you all failed the test. You have to study hard. And he expected the reaction of the students that, oh, yeah, we have to go and work harder. Well, she did not. She withdrew, started crying, and she refused to go to school. And that was not just school refusal. She tried to. But when I took her hand and tried to go to school with her hand became sweaty and cold. I mean, this is not the reaction that you can fake. She
Mm-hmm,
was
mm-hmm.
trembling. I mean, physically trembling. This is school phobia when you have not only emotional state, but you have some physical signs of disturbance, and you cannot do this. And she
Right.
almost fainted. She was trembling. I mean, I haven't seen this. I mean, this is really serious, severe case, the most severe case that I ever seen. So we had to work with her, talking. The teachers went outside. The principal, when I explained everything what's going on, the principal went outside. The assistant principal, the counselor, talked to her, sent her home to relax, convinced mom not to punish her, not to do anything, just let her relax. Meanwhile, we developed a program of how to gradually introduce Maria to school again, so she would not have she would she would not have difficulty, so much difficulty to go. Well, to make the story short, it took us almost a year to bring her, no, about 2 months to bring her back to school, to the building. She completed the school year and took the test, by the way. In the front room, there was the, I think, accountant's office, and she worked there. She felt it safe. She couldn't move further. Then we continued working with her during summer where there was nobody in school, just to let her get returned to the building. Then the next year, and she really wanted to do that. So next year, we gradually developed the program that she was able to follow and mark herself, like
And
self-monitoring.
when does this
And by the
depression
end of year, she
typically
was
diagnose? At
again
what
straight A
age you can
student, was
diagnose
able to sit
depression in
through
a
all the
child?
classes.
I
And
had depressed children with
when she went to
depression
high
as early
school,
as 6 years
she
of school
came in the middle
age.
of the year and told that
And
she
Severe
is now
depression.
working as the school counselor assistant, working with the students who have difficulties in school. So this was
oh,
total success, and she was. I could see the difference of confidence level when she was doing that because she completed that, and we encouraged her. Every success when she could make the step advance in a she stepped one step at a time, we celebrated it. The parent came, the mother came, we brought the cakes, small cakes for her, the teachers came, we applauded her, we gave her small presents, so she knew that she was successful. So this helped her to build self-confidence, to help her with this anxiety, and help with school phobia. We resolved this issue.
wow. But while she was afraid to enter the school building, was she homeschooled? What did she do?
Well, she studied at home. The prince. That's why I say that administration involvement is crucial because the administration allowed us to develop the program that the teachers gave homework to her, and she came to to school building or made a step inside, received this homework, and was taken home.
I
And
see, I
she
see.
studied at home. She returned next day, she returned the school work, the work that she did, to the teachers. And with this, we made her make one more step inside the building, one more step, like one to the class, to the stairs, something like, closer. So this was a part of the program adjustment to school building again.
So you literally one day would ask her to hold the rail of the school and then make one step, and then she goes back home, and then the next day it's further advancement. So it was
Yes.
literally,
Yeah,
wow.
it was like one step at a time. When she was able to hold, it was great, Maria, great, you did it. See, you can do it. Okay, step back now. Let's do it again and repeat it. And she was already smiling that she was able to overcome this difficulty that she felt. That's why I say that's not that she didn't want to go to school. She could not. And this
Mm,
should be treated seriously. It's not that, okay, well, push her and she will enter.
right,
Yes,
right.
you can bring her. She may faint, she may get sick, she may never be able to enter the school if you push her. That's why I just say it's like one step at a time.
Yeah, and I hear the critical part of small steps and celebrating success, right?
Exactly, because celebrating success builds the self-confidence in the child. And when the child is confident, it's much more easier for this child to solve the problems, to go through the difficulties, through the stress, which is inevitable. You cannot protect your child from stressful situation. But when the child is self-confident, when the child is confident, when you build this confidence in the child, so that's much more. The child becomes resilient and can go through difficulties in life with ease.
Right. And I believe the same principle can apply not to such extreme cases, but also more mild cases. And there are even some programs like martial arts or anything else where they break it into small pieces and celebrate successes along the way, right?
Yes, absolutely. With anything can be. Uh, I prefer, and most of the times, I prefer to do it step by step because that's uh, and almost everything. When you put the goal in front of you, uh, the goal may seem unattainable first. But if you break it in small steps, it's much easier. And when you do something, it's for adults too. It's for the parents. The same thing for the parents, for all people. When you do something, you feel satisfaction. And when you feel satisfaction, uh, if especially if people around you accept that you did something and say, "Yes, great." So you feel, see, you feel your child feels the same you feel. Maybe in
Right.
different proportion, maybe in different way, but I mean, children have the same emotions that you do. They are even more sensitive to the emotions of the environment. You know, they like animals. They feel the parents. Whatever parents feel, they feel. If the parent has anxiety, they feel it. They become anxious too. They become anxious, nervous because they sense it. Not that feel, they sense it. So that's why it is important for the parents first to build their own self confidence and then implement it, like put it on a child.
Right. And can you tell more about the influence of the environment? Because I read somewhere that around age 12, the environment becomes such a big factor in child's life where their peers begin to have more influence than parents. So can you tell more about, right now we talked about adults cheering for the kid, and it was teachers, school administration, but I haven't heard much about the classmates. So, can you tell more about all the success celebration and the influence of kids versus adults?
Until you mentioned it right, it's age 12. It's like, of course, it's not like when the child turns 12, something changes. It's around 12. It's like Fuzzy says, it's everything in psychology. But 12, we put like cutting line when the parents are not important for the child anymore. Yes, yes. And this is normal life. This, you have to get ready. And peers are important in child's life all the time. But until age 12, you can direct your child where you think it is necessary, where you can tell what should be valued, what is good, what is bad. But when they turn 12, whatever you say is not important anymore. It's the peers that they say. And it will be, at first, it will be like, Mom, but Billy said that this is black, and this is white. And you say vice versa. At first, it will be question. Then it will be, Mom, my friend said that this is this way. You don't understand it. Then it will be, well, why should I listen to the parents? They're old and stupid. But it's much later. It's like 15, 16, maybe 17. So, and this is absolutely normal. You shouldn't worry about, I mean, you should worry about that because it's still parents can do something. The parents can ahead of time create this circle of friends of made that with whom their child can interact. You can ahead of time involve in the program that have the same moral values that you do, that your family does. So you can create these ties for the student, for the child, ahead of time. And when the child is 12, 13, this crucial age period, the child will continue to deal with the same students, with the same peers who have similar values because you know their parents, because you know these children since age like 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's important. But age 12, it's inevitable, and you shouldn't be like, something happened to my child. He turned into alien. I don't recognize him anymore. Yes, it will happen. By the way, with the girls, it's easier than with the boys. I can tell you for sure.
That's
Knowing
reassuring.
that I have a son, and I went through all this myself, and you have a girl, and I have many friends who have girls who didn't go through the same thing.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, on this topic, I have a follow-up question. So, what if you didn't create that great environment with potentially nice friends, and let's say a parent is so busy, they work all the time, and then suddenly they realize that at age 12 or 13, their kid is surrounded by kids that influence them in a bad way and model negative behavior. So what can they do at that point if they missed that window of opportunity?
Well, basically, you cannot make at age 14, 15, you cannot make the child physically to do something or not do something. But because they believe that parents are stupid. In reality, parents are smarter than they are, but the teenagers don't believe that. But you have to take advantage of that. There are many tricks how to go over that. You cannot totally like turn around the child or the teenager, I would say, but you can use some tricks to deal with that. Uh, you have a problem with the child refusing to go to the family activities, like teenagers. I don't want to. I'm not interested. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. What do you want? I want to stay at home. And probably talk on the phone with my friends, telling about how life sucks and how the adults are stupid and how the girls are nice, but they're also stupid because they don't pay attention to us. So that's something that he would like to do. He won't tell you that, but you can arrange something like what I did. I know that my son was the same. I mean, like all teenagers, he went through this period. He was good natured and he would never refuse if somebody asked him to help. So I just told him that, my friend has difficulty to load this something on the truck and he asked if you can come and help him. He'd never refused that. So this was the way to solve this small problem. So the parents should be more inventive, use their experience and brain that teenagers believe that they don't have
Right.
uh, to resolve this issue.
Yes, yes. So I see how you capitalized on good nature of your son who would not want to refuse. If there was help needed, he could help instead of just telling him, please go to the event. I see that. The very smart.
I still use it. I still use it. He's over 40, and sometimes I just come. Your parents are tired and old, are tired. They need help. They need to paint this and do this. So to make him come more often to visit us.
I see, I see. Well, let's go back to school refusal.
Hmm.
I want to learn more about. So clearly, there is a large scale of really extreme cases versus more mild cases when we learned more about the child who thought that kids will think he lied. So basically, what advice can you give to parents when it's a more mild problem, but the kid still refuses to go? For instance, a child may say, school is really boring, or school is tough. I feel school is like prison. I don't want to spend 7 or 8 hours in school. I feel my life is being wasted there. So all kinds of complaints about school. They still kind of drag themselves to school, but they have no enthusiasm, and they perceive school as a prison instead of a great educational opportunity and opportunity to develop themselves.
Parents should work as detectives there, first of all. They need to find out why the child says that. There could be just that there should be some problem that the child have in school. It could be. So they need to find out, was there problem with the student? Was there problem with the teacher? Was there problem with the program itself? Sometimes I heard in my practice these statements from the children with high IQ, with high experience, who knew more than the teachers could provide to them in class. And because the behavior, they didn't want to answer the teachers. They tried to be to attract attention, because the teachers pay attention to the students who are not very successful. To spend evidently they spend more time with the student to assist them to go up. If the child goes smoothly with no problems, good Johnny. So work further. I'll stay with Billy, who doesn't know how to add 2 plus 2. So if it is boring for the child, if it's really boring for the child, the teacher should be aware of that and give extra assignment for the student. Then it will be interesting. Or make this student teacher assistant for certain areas for certain period of time, like for 5 minutes, you will be my teacher assistant. So this increases the feeling of being important for this child in class, or entertain the child with something else. He can help others. He can help the teacher. He can do extra assignments and should be praised for that. This is one case. The other case is the conflict. The child is ignored because he's not interesting for other students, and other students do not pay attention. So the child is isolated, withdrawn. It's boring for him because nobody wants to play with him. Not because of the behavior, just because the child is withdrawn. Like Tasha doesn't want to go to school because she doesn't know games, and she's shy to volunteer to join the games that her classmates play. So she sits there. A couple times she's invited by the other girls. She refused, so nobody pays attention to her. So if this is the case, the parents and the teacher need to teach her how to establish peer relationship, because it's very important. For some children, it comes naturally. Others have to be taught how to talk to people, how to respond to people, how to smile to people, to express the emotions more openly. So you have to be a detective to find out what is the reason the child doesn't like school. Sometimes it happens, I have to accept it, sometimes it happens that the school is boring. But, life is not fun all the time. So here is the task for the parents to teach the child that life is not always fun. I do boring stuff. I have to wash dishes or do laundry or clean something, clean the house. It's boring. I have to do that. There are boring periods of life, of boring tasks in life that you have to do. It's part of life. That's it. So accept it. So you have to teach it. In school, usually the teachers try to make it, let's have fun. The parents need to teach that there are periods that you will be bored.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are techniques how to teach child to be bored and feel okay.
What are those techniques?
Depending on the age of the child, let's say age 8, 7, 8, this elementary school, but not very elementary. That's when the child has ability to reason, ability to understand reasoning of the parents, and manage their behavior a little bit, but can manage. So ahead of time, you need to repeat this word boring yourself. Like, okay, now we had dinner. I have to clean the table and it's a boring task. Out loud. But life sometimes is boring and I have to do that because nobody else will do that. And if I don't this, it will be dirty, nobody will like it, so this is boring, but I have to do that because it's my responsibility. Honey, do you want to help me with this boring task? No, I don't. Okay, then I don't want to do it either, but because I have to do boring stuff, here is a boring task for you. Give her something that she doesn't like. Like, for example, what your daughter what your daughter think is boring.
All
What do you
household
hear?
chores, I think.
Good. That's very good. So when you do something, so I do boring stuff. Now here is 5 minutes for you, boring stuff. You clean your toys, or you put away your toys, or you put stuff in the fridge because I have to do boring and you have to do boring because this is fair. Children use the word fair probably as much as they use the word boring. Life is not fair. Did you hear that?
Not from my child, but it is a common
Well,
thing.
yes, it's common, but if she hears that in school, she will come with that eventually. That's not fair. So you can use that too. Say, well, that's not fair. I have to do it, and you don't. That's not fair. So I do. Okay, I'm adult. I do 10 minutes of boring thing, and you do 3 minutes of boring thing. And repeatedly tell her that do boring stuff is okay. Being bored, it's okay. When you are bored, you can do nothing and continue to be bored, or you can invent something in your head and find to do something that is not boring. Because life is not fun all the time. I mean, it's fun in general, but not all the time.
Right. And I almost see a parallel between children may perceive school as definitely a big chunk of their day, often the largest chunk of their day. My child is at school for 8 hours plus commute, so it's like a work day for adults. And adults, a lot of them don't find their jobs as fun and exciting, so it almost feels that most of the time in a lifetime spent doing something unpleasant and boring, and then they have a teensy bit of time left for something fun, and it's not a good way of living life. There has to be a better way, at least seeing it and perceiving it. Do you have any advice for that?
This is a lot about perception. It's how you perceive your life. And about personality. It's a lot about personality. For some people, I heard, well, it sucks. Life is sucks. Job sucks. Everything sucks. Family sucks. Children are nasty. Wife is tired all the time. Job is awful. That's personality. If they want to change, they can change. If they don't want to change, you cannot do anything. But let's speak about normal people who feel tired at work. Most of us do. And I'd say part of every job is boring. I hated paperwork during working. I hate it. At first, paperwork was like 10-15% of my work. That was fine. Then it was 20, then 25. And, 25% of your time, you do boring things. So You cannot change it because it's part of your job. You can do several things. I like to have interns, and I gave them this paperwork to do, so I reduced it as much as I could. And they have to learn that anyway. Or you can change a job, which I realized I couldn't because in every school district is the same. I tried several school districts. It's the same. It's just the part of life. So that's very important to learn that some parts will be boring. Some part of boring you can turn into fun. Some boring stuff you can delegate to others to do. Some people don't find paperwork boring.
Right.
I have a friend who is accountant. She spends, 99% of her time with paper. And she's excited about that. So you can delegate to these people. Children cannot delegate. Children have to learn that. But I don't know, in school usually, in schools where I work, the teachers try to make life of student fun. Probably too much, because they don't teach them that it's okay to be bored. They want to be nice. The parents have to teach their children that boring is okay. But if the life is boring, maybe a child is depressed. Here is the time to go to school psychologist.
And when does this depression typically diagnose? At what age you can diagnose depression in a child?
I had depressed children with depression as early as 6 years of age, with serious depression.
And what typically causes depression in kids?
Well, depression is psychiatric disorder, or psychological disorder, we call it. People afraid of word psychiatric. But this is usually chemical disbalance in the brain, which usually needs to be treated with medication. Sometimes medication by itself is not effective. The most effective approach for depression is combination of therapy and medication. Therapy by itself may work in some mild cases, but it's very difficult. So when you hear the diagnosis of depression, don't be afraid that you need to take medication, because that's like, like if you have diabetes, to function, you have to take insulin or whatever else they prescribe nowadays. So, and it's okay. Nobody will criticize you that you take insulin to function normally. The same with depression. Some people have chronic conditions, some people have temporary conditions, so it depends. But children can have depression. What causes it? Chemical disbalance. What triggers it? A lot of things. The atmosphere in school, at home, the relations, anything can be a trigger for depression.
And is it safe to give medication to 6 and 7-year-old kids, depression medication?
Depending on the condition of the child. The doctors, I'm not a medical doctor, but psychiatrists or family doctors who prescribe this medication always weigh the risk of leaving the child depressed and the risk of side effects of medication. Sometimes it's better to give medication, because if you see why depression is so dangerous, because a lot of cases in depression lead to suicidal attempts or suicidal acts. So that's scary. To me, seeing depressed child is still scary, because I would rather, there are some safe medication. Usually all medications were tested on children starting age 12. So it's always a risk to give medication before that time, with the exception of a couple of medications that were tested on kids. I think it was ADHD medications and something else. I don't remember. But most of psychotropic medications were tested only starting from age 12. So the doctors can definitely say about side effects of this medication starting from age 12. Before, they usually wait. What is the severity of the case, of this or that case?
I see, I see. So it's chemical disbalance in the brain, and it's quite often triggered by an event. Could be school, could be environment at
Environmental.
home. Yeah. Okay.
Environmental, yes.
All right. Very interesting. So I like your idea about talking about that boring is a part of life and demonstrating it to a child. And in general, it seems that we as parents lead by example. So we can say something to a child, but if we do something different and do not practice what we preach, children will learn based on what we're doing and what we're practicing, right? So if a parent keeps sending signals to a child that, oh, my life is boring, it's all like chores, or job is not enjoyable, they watch you and they automatically project it on their life, or they can see their future like that in many cases, right?
Right, yes. And if you say that life is boring at home, the child will repeat it. However, for example, you never say that. Your life is fun, and you try to put this on child, life is fun. The child goes to school. When it comes to preteen or teenagers, whatever you say is not important. If his peers say that life is not fun, it's boring, he comes home and say, or she comes home and say, it's boring. Even if you never said this at home. So let's talk about kids until they turn 12.
Yes.
They do what they see. You're right. You can tell that, well, you should be this or this, you should never talk bad about people, and talking with your friend. Oh, by the way, did you know that John's wife did this and that? And so gossiping, the child, they hear you. They will do the same. They will talk bad about people if you do that. They will yell if you yell at home. If the child never seen how parents yell at each other, they will not raise their voice in most cases, because it's not typical behavior in the family. So they just do, like you said, they do what they see.
Until age 12, roughly. And then after 12, it's the peer pressure and
After
peer
12,
environment.
it will be, I had probably 12, 13. It's not like straight 12, 13. One of my friends said that he felt that there was an alien that abducted the child, get into his child, nice and angel type child. There was an alien there and stayed in this child until 22 or 23. So for 10 years, there was an alien living inside the child. So not everybody is such unlucky. And again, it's not all the time. It's just like something that you used to have a nice kid, and suddenly the kid who says, yes, ma'am, no, sir, you're doing, what? Whatever. I don't care. So suddenly you hear that and you just taken aback and just like, oh my God, what's happening? So.
Right. So to recap, do you have any other suggestions, ideas, advice in regards to school refusal topic? Did we cover everything, or you still have a few
Well,
final
you can't
thoughts?
cover everything because it's such a huge topic, but recaps are, first of all, you need to investigate. Well, first of all, don't jump into conclusion that there is school phobia when it could be a tiny, small problem like headache, I said, hangover, or just migraine. So you need to investigate why the child doesn't want to go to school. You need to find out the reason. When you find out the reason, I preferably you will consult with school professional, because it's free, school counselor or school psychologist, and find out what's going on there and try to solve the problem there. If it is a serious case of school phobia, if you come to the conclusion that it's serious case, then you need to address a specialist and involve the school team. So that's the case. But the parents, be detectives, find out what's going on, and don't push your child, because children needs our respect too.
Right. I'm a member of some Facebook groups, and moms even shared horror stories about how they have to call police to bring their child to school, that kids refuse to go to school. Are you familiar with that kind of cases? Or it sounds too
I
radical?
heard this suggestion while working with one of the cases of school phobia, when the parents, because they had to go to work, they called police to bring the child to school, or they suggested that. I just don't remember, because it's absolutely, it's not acceptable. You cannot make the child do something by force. Okay, the police will bring him to school. He will run away. I had so many cases when kids just ran away from the building, from school building, and then the school police chased them around, which is very dangerous. And, this is not the solution. Absolutely. You need to find out why this is happening.
What if there is a learning disability and a child feels stupid, so they are not catching up, especially in the public school or often private schools that are not set up for kids with learning disabilities? They may be getting an IEP, and it could be definitely a different subject for a different conversation, but I can see how kids' confidence may be low because they perceive themselves as less intelligent than others, and it's not pleasant to feel like you're dumb, right? So that could be another reason for school refusal.
Well, yes, exactly. This is, and this could be, the school is boring, I don't want to go to school. The child may give different excuses to the parents, because as you said, that the child, it's difficult for anybody to accept that you are stupid, that you are dumb, that you cannot do something that other people do on an everyday basis. I don't say like jumping, like running marathon or something that some people do, but all other people do it on every day, and you can't do that. So you feel really your confidence is low. You don't want to do this, to go to school. This is exactly one of the cases, but this is chronicle. This is a separate conversation, because if you definitely know what's going on, why the child doesn't want to go to school because of learning disability, you need to involve school to develop special program, or you need to do something, because if the school didn't do something, the parents have to.
Right. Maybe provide after-school tutoring, or even enroll your child to a specialized school, right? Where they will feel accepted and be surrounded by like-minded people and being taught in a different method, right?
Well, different programs are theoretically available in every school. Are they implemented, or how they are implemented? That's different issue. If the child doesn't, if you can't help the child to go over that feeling, improve the confidence, or be successful every day, that's the problem of the school. The parents need to do something, change school, change program, change teacher, whatever.
Right. And it all stems from child's self-esteem and self-confidence. I remember I saw a program with the founder of Khan Academy, and he mentioned how the whole idea was born to help one of his, I think, nephews. It was a relative, it was another child, that he designed a fun program with math to teach them math. And then that child suddenly began to excel in math, and they felt very confident, and it gave such a nice boost to, in general, keep producing more content and help other kids. So it seems that if a child is confident, and if they feel important, significant, probably we would not have that problem. So it's a matter of self-importance, self-significance, and self-esteem. Something violated it.
Yeah, you need to build child's confidence, definitely, because this is the keyword for child progress in life.
Mm-hmm.
When the child is confident, he or she can go over the difficulties with ease or with less difficulty than others. They are more resilient and then learn how to solve problem easier than children with low confidence. So
So let's pick
self-confidence is an issue. Yeah.
Right. So let's pick an example. Let's say if a parent is not in a position to enroll a child in a private school that may be expensive, so they have to stick with that school district. Is there a way for a child at least to find an activity where they excel? So for instance, child may not do well in English, literature, math, but then there is one activity, maybe it's sports, maybe it's art, somewhere where they feel like a rock star, and that alone can give them confidence to overcome all these other difficulties. What is your take
Well,
on that?
theoretically, you're right. Unfortunately, working in schools, I know that, and I fought this all this time. The child is not successful in uh, school subjects, say in math, but he is the lead player in football. However, if you fail math, the school does not allow this child to participate in sports, which is absolutely wrong, as I say, because this is probably the only thing where child feels successful, and this subject, sports, can build confidence in him. And then on this confidence, we can work on improving his math skills. In life, in school, in at least in public schools, it's different. If you fail a subject, academic subject, you cannot participate in after-school activities in sports. So theoretically, you're right. The child has to be successful in some activities. If the child is not successful in school, the parents need to involve him in some activities after school, which the child likes and is successful. And there is always something like that. It's that the child is not interested in anything. You didn't look hard enough. There is
Right.
always something that the child may be interested in. I haven't met a single child who was indifferent to everything. You just didn't find what is interesting for this child, and you need to dig deeper.
What about depressed kids? So, as we talked about, there is a condition. Can they still be interested in something, or it could be such severe depression that they just don't see the light at all?
Usually, when the depression is in severe depression, they don't see light at all. They may pretend that they're interested, but usually they're not interested. This is one of the symptoms of depression. So uh, it's different issue how to treat, how to work with these kids. First of all, you need to deal with depression and then bring them back to involvement in life activities. So
Right.
that's different.
But if the kid is not depressed, typically at least there's something that they would be interested in.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
see.
The same thing as when they said, well, what could be a reward for this child? And said, well, we can, the child is not interested in everything. He has everything. There is no reward for this child that he will work for. That's not right. There is always something that the child is interested in. You just need to find it.
Okay. Well, that
Something
gives
that is
hope.
interesting, something. Oh, yeah, absolutely. There is
Right.
always, you can find, you dig deeper, be an investigator, be a detective, and you need to find that.
Right. Well, thank you for this inspirational conversation. I have a couple more questions before we wrap up. The first question is, given your current experience, if you can look back at your parenting, what would you do different now, knowing all information you know right now when you were a young mom raising your son?
Probably, yeah, I was a young mom. I had a baby when I was 22, and my husband was also 22, and we probably tried too hard. Being a grandmother right now and seeing how my son and my daughter-in-law treat the baby, I just said, just let it go. Leave it alone. He will do well anyway, because from the experience I saw, whatever you do, they will learn to walk, They will learn to talk. They will learn to deal with the issues. I mean, you have to do something, but don't do it too hard. Don't be so strict. Let it go. So that would be my advice to the parents who try to do everything like that in order. Everything should be perfect. Let it go. The child will be fine. If you are doing what is right, don't do it too hard. Just relax.
I see, I see. And I see how some moms with several kids loosen up with each next child, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
And my last question, since my channel is called Trust Me Mom, do you have any advice for parents to build trust with kids? What can they do to build trustworthy relationships with their kids? And I assume at different age it could be different. So the more information you can provide, the better.
To build trust for the kids, the most important thing is to be consistent. That's my advice. Some people say, well, don't lie to children. That's not true. We do lie to children. We do lie on different levels. And this is okay because you cannot tell the truth all the time to the child for different reasons. But you have to be consistent. If you say no for some action once, you have to say no for this thing again and again. Like I say, you do not allow to go child beyond that line or beyond that block. Today, tomorrow you said, oh, well, okay. The child receives confusing information and he's not sure if he can trust you or not trust. So the most important thing is not to lie, but to be consistent what you say to your child. So
I see.
that's how you build trust.
I love it. Thank you so much. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Well, the next conversation, I think, needs to be how to teach child to solve problems, because solving problems, ability to solve problems, leads to confidence. And confidence, we return to this issue several times today. Maybe we'll talk about that next time.
I love it. Thank you. Until next
Thank you.
time.